finally we know more about the PlayStation 5's hardware and its capabilities and what we're likely to get at the end of the year. Of course, we don't know what the console looks like, which is another thing to be excited about. But it's not the most important thing. It's kind of going the reverse route of what the Xbox Series X, Microsoft, have been doing with their console. They showed it off first and then went the hardware route and have been throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at it. Sony, on the other hand, have been taking a slightly different route and being sort of very mum about it over the last, well, an eternity, and releasing a logo, some bits about some of the specs, but nothing huge until the deep dive with Mark Cerny yesterday. Now, a lot of people were expecting that this was going to be some sort of huge show and tell with games and the console and the controller and all of that nonsense. And really, this was a session that was meant for the GDC. So it was always going to be a very dry, a very formal, a very tech-related presentation. Now, that doesn't mean to say that there's an awful lot, or there isn't an awful lot to take away from that. And I'm not going to compare the, what a lot of people immediately latch onto with that the Xbox Series X has more more teraflops than the PlayStation 5, or that, comparing it like for like in that fashion side by side, because that actually doesn't work that way. And I'm not saying this because I'm sure a lot of people will say, well, that's because you're a Sony fanboy, which I'm not. Or, you've got something about the Xbox One Series X, which I haven't, because I've had every Xbox and every PlayStation and most of the Nintendo consoles. So, yeah, I just go where the games are, including PC. So it's not about favoritism. The thing to consider with the PlayStation 5 and is that talking about the teraflops issue thing, that there's going to this disparity of, I think, around about maybe 1.5 or so teraflops, is that it's just part of the puzzle, and what Sony are doing to alleviate the amount of computational units that they have, which is less than what the Xbox Series X, God, that name's killing me, Xbox Series X has more of, is that the core speeds of those compute units are much higher. So in fact, I think Mark Cerny made a reference to, in fact, that if these were just at the normal without sort of boosted or anything like that, or sort of maxed out, which they are, it would actually equal to 58 compute units. But that's all by the by. It's really not going to make any difference whether you're, say, playing the same game on an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5. It will look the same. It will be incredible. It will run at the same speeds as both machines will run at the same speeds on the same games. They will be optimized. So, having got that out of the way, and hopefully we can begin to put that to bed, but of course people just focus on the numbers and just take things out of context of one another to then further the argument that mine's got more teraflops than yours, so therefore it's more superior and my games are going to look more awesome as a result. That's not the case. Games on Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 will predominantly, 99.9% of the time, providing it's the same game, look the same, play the same. They will both be awesome. First party games on the PlayStation 5 I'm very excited about, because it allows them to squeeze that bit more out of the PlayStation. As we've seen before over the whole PlayStation generations, where we've seen what they can really do if they just concentrate on the fact that it's for one console, and then using the power of the teams that are in Sony and the developers that they have and own. They create such amazing first party games, which is what I'm really excited about. Imagine just in a couple of years what some of the games that we will be playing that are exclusives on the PlayStation 5. That to me is hugely exciting, and it just makes you wonder what Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to look like and things like that. But that's not first party, I do know that. But things like God of War, The Last of Us Part 3, maybe, who knows. But anyway, I'm digressing a little bit, getting excited. But one of the things that I am really excited about, and of course if you're really into the whole tech thing, this isn't a sort of a comparison of the tech and looking at this and that and saying, oh, this is amazing, this is better than the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series X is better than the PlayStation 5 on this part. None of that comparison is going to work when you're actually playing a game. They're both going to look the same, so hopefully we've put that to bed. What I am really excited about is 3D audio, which both Xbox Series X has, but what Sony are also doing with their version of 3D audio, which is the Tempest engine, which I believe uses the same computational power as what the PlayStation 4 has, which is incredible just for sound, is that they're using incredible techniques to enable us to hear audio as it really should be heard. They've been analyzing thousands of people's heads and ears and how we hear and the technologies that we hear with, whether that's a simple pair of headphones or TV speakers or a whole all singing, all dancing Atmos system. If you consider the reason why they didn't, you could say, well, why didn't Sony go down the Atmos route? The reason why Sony didn't go down the Atmos route is I think Atmos only is able to pinpoint around about 30 odd separate different sounds, whereas Sony are aiming at over 100. And I think that is amazing. Imagine the immersion of, imagine, calm down, Stu, take a breath. Imagine the immersion of like a storm in Red Dead Redemption 3, or the feeling of being in a race car in the next Gran Turismo for PlayStation 5, which will probably come out in about 16 years. It's that for me, being an audiophile, that I'm really excited about. That whole, immersion aspect. And it was one of the things that got me excited about the Xbox One X when it came out, is that it was Atmos. And some of the games that I have played that are Atmos are pretty good, but they're still lacking. They're still not giving what they promised. That complete immersion of being surrounded in sound as you'd hoped that Atmos would be. And it kind of is, but mostly isn't. There's still a detachment there. And again, Sony have an awful lot of promise and saying, that it's going to be incredibly immersive and X, Y, and Z. And, there is a degree of, pinch of salt to take with that. But it's still incredibly exciting. It's one of the things that in the PlayStation 5 I'm really excited about. Yes, I'm excited about the games. The ability of the games to be sort of instantly playable, quick resume, super fast resumes and load times are all great things to be excited about. So that's my take on it. I'm not going to go into I didn't want to go into the minutiae of the hardware. I wanted this to sort of just be the feeling that I'm getting as a consumer. and what I'm excited about with the PlayStation 5. I'm still very hungry to see what it looks like. I'm very excited about that, and I'm sure we'll learn more about that as we go throughout the year. I think what Microsoft have done with the Xbox Series X and the the beauty of what they've created internally is amazing. I think, you know, I think that whole, the way it all pieces together, I think it's a thing of beauty inside the Xbox Series X. I really do. I think, you know, and it makes me wonder what Sony are doing. I'm a bit of a nerd on that, which is why I like building computers and all of that. And I do sit and just look at how the computer is running and so on. I know. So that's my take. What are you really excited about from learning what we know about the PlayStation 5 compared to, say, what we know about the Xbox Series X? You know, are you one of these people that do have a concern about the fact that, you know, on comparing just simple numbers next to each other and taking things out of context like the GPU and so on, does that concern you? Are you concerned? Does that make you shift over to the Xbox Series X, or the other way around perhaps? Let me know your thoughts. For me, I'm hugely excited about both. I have a PC, so I won't be getting an Xbox Series X, but if I didn't have a powerful PC, I would. But I'm just going to get a PlayStation 5 this time. So there we go. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you've not subscribed, consider doing that, and don't forget to click the bell. And I'll be back next week with another next gen latest. I probably won't have an awful lot to talk about because it's all kind of been said and done. It's just, we just need to know what the PlayStation 5 looks like. I wonder. See you next time. Stay safe. Look after those you love. Keep an eye out for your elderly neighbours. And I'll see you next time.